Hey guys, Dajix here, back with another Dragon Age Veilguard video. Newly released info means that today we dive into all the companions we can bring along, specifically what they can do, what their abilities are, and why you should bring them. I'll also talk about how you can win yourself huge prizes. First, a quick rundown. Every companion specializes in either priming an effect or detonating one, or both. For example, Davrin can apply the Overwhelm effect and detonate the Weakened effect, making him work well if your character plays around with those effects, or works well with, say, Harding, who can detonate the Overwhelm effect. Detonating an ability does a lot of damage as well as an extra effect. Each companion is also part of a faction. There are 7 in the game, with the 7th being the Inquisition, which your character doesn't have access to, but you can choose the other 6 at character creation, which applies a lot to you, but I've talked about that in my previous video. Your reputation with these factions will garner different rewards, and we've seen gear gain stat benefits for the current reputation as well. Each companion has 5 abilities that can be modified with their skill tree, changing their effects based on what you need from them. Magic also seems to be bleeding into the world due to the shenanigans with Solus, so there seems to be magic where there wasn't any before, justifying why, say, a warrior can now breathe fire, or how they can cast Titan Stomp. Hint hint, nudge nudge, Titans As you gain respect and loyalty from companions, you'll gain skill points. Here we see that we're at rank 4 with Davrin, Comrade in Arms, so the friendlier you get with them, the stronger they will get. You don't need to sleep with them to power them up, though I'm sure your junk is just magical. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also improve companion abilities with weapons, shields, offhands, an accessory, and armor. They'll also fight on their own, which some people hate and some people love. The devs suggest they'll get more potent as they grow, and we've seen Neve dance around with no skills, but just her innate ability to use the wind and ice magic to float around. I think of them as powered up Mass Effect companions. You can order them around but not directly control them, though you can program rules for them, which we don't have info on just yet. Each companion has an ability to influence the world around them in some way. For example, Bellara, or Bellara, whichever you want to pronounce it as, can interact with ancient elven tech, something no one else can do. However, your character Rook can learn these companion abilities later on in some undiscussed way. I'm sure it's just when you reach max influence with them. Before we continue, big news. I'm almost at 250,000 subscribers. To celebrate, one lucky winner will receive a gaming console of their choice, and another will win a Steam game of their choice. There'll be tons of prizes for runners-up, and if we reach 250k by the 1st of Jan 2025, a powerful Nvidia RTX 4090 graphics card worth 2,400 USD will be added to the prize pool. Follow the Gleam link below to enter. In each video, starting with this one, I'll hide a secret code word in purple. So watch each video, and each time you enter a code word, you'll gain 10 extra entries. So best of luck, and let's get back to it. First up is Scout Harding. This dwarf scout has a positive outlook and a ready bow, as well as unexpected magical powers. At her core, Harding is still a girl from Ferelden. She loves adventure, animals, and nature, and is fiercely protective of her family and friends. Her abilities are Seismic Shot, Heavy Draw, Shred, Adrenaline Rush, and Soothing Potion. Harding's skills with her bow are unmatched. Her arrows can stagger enemies and shred armor, so Harding will be your dwarf ranged DPS, an archer that primes the sundered target and detonates the Overwhelmed effect. Most of her abilities also apply high stagger to targets. Now, we saw in the recent trailer that she's gained some kind of magic that looks similar to the effects we've seen in the Titans before. So she, like almost everyone else, has some kind of magical ability. Perhaps, like I mentioned, due to Solus releasing the Blighted Gods and messing up the ritual. However, the lore is a conversation for another time. When we look at Harding's skills, nothing there screams magic. Perhaps these abilities update when she starts unlocking her magic, but as of right now, we have to assume what she can do is limited to these. We've seen Shred highlighted before. It's a physical attack with a 36-second cooldown. It deals high stagger, which raises the purple bar above enemies' heads, and when it maxes out, the enemy is staggered, letting you deal bonus damage or perform a finisher. I go through this mechanic in detail in my combat overview video, which is, if I don't say so myself, pretty in-depth and amazing, so go check that out. Shred also notably applies Sundered to a target, so if you have someone that can detonate Sundered, you'll be cooking with gas. We see here the icon for Soothing Potion, so without a doubt it's Harding's heal. She'll most likely be able to heal you or the team on a cooldown. Every companion has some kind of buff or debuff skill, and Harding seems to be Adrenaline Rush. We haven't seen her version of the skill, but we have seen Lucanis' version, so let's look at that. It has a 19-second cooldown, so it should be up very often. It also grants you the enhanced damage effect, which, well, boosts your damage. Harding is your only companion that's part of the Inquisition faction, and we know factions will play a role in the game, so it'll be interesting to see if it gives her some kind of tangible benefit, like it does with the others. We've already seen gear that boosts stats based on your background, so are there Inquisition gear pieces? Finally, I don't really like that in all the current material we're seeing of Harding, her face is messed up.
What the hell happened here?
Who hurt you, Harding? It might be because in the intro you can select her to go pull out the pillars and it falls on her, but I wonder if they're going to keep her that way from the story onwards, because BioWare seem to really like putting scars on women in their Dragon Age series. If so, there will be a lot of pissed off Harding fans out there, I can guarantee it. Next is Davrin. Bold and charming, this Grey Warden has made a name for himself as a monster hunter. Though he was raised in a Dalish clan, he's craved excitement and adventure. He'd rather make history than reflect on it. Now he cares for Asan, a young griffin. Oh yes. His abilities are Battle Cry, Death from Above, Heroic Strike, Asan Strike, and In War, Victory. Fiercely loyal, Davrin brings his enemies down hard with a combination of mighty attacks, teaming up with Asan to keep their companions out of danger. So Davrin is your elf, sword and board melee tank. He can apply the Overwhelm effect and detonate the Weakened effect. Two of the abilities he has, Death from Above and Asan Strike, use his baby griffin to attack. This gives Davrin, who's a melee tank, the ability to hit at range. Thankfully, we've seen a bit more of Davrin than we have of other companions, so I can go through a few. Death from Above is on a 48-second cooldown. Why are these cooldowns oddly specific? Why not round up to 50? It's possible these skills have been modified in their skill tree, reducing their cooldown. So don't take these final numbers seriously just yet. So it deals damage and high stagger. It also detonates weakened targets, so if you have a way to apply weakened with a skill, a rune, or a companion, this can detonate it by ordering his griffin to swoop in. Heroic Strike has a much shorter 28-second cooldown and deals decent damage and high stagger. It applies the Overwhelm effect, which increases the amount of stagger the target takes. Battle Cry is a low 28-second cooldown AoE taunt, making Davrin a much better tank. However, if you don't lack for crowd control on your team, then you can swap that out for something more damaging, like Asan Strike. It's not my cup of tea, but I'm sure many would enjoy that attack. Davrin is your only companion that's a member of the Grey Wardens, Darkspawn blood and all, so if you've chosen this background, I'm sure you'll have a lot to talk about. Bellara is up next, a creative, a romantic, and obsessed with uncovering the secrets of ancient Elfhenan. She has a strong sense of character, a clear idea of what she is and what she wants, and will push herself to the limits to find the answers she seeks. Her abilities are Fade Bolts, Enfeebling Shot, Replenish Time Slow, and Galvanized Tear. Bellara manipulates the Fade and uses electricity and control magic to support her companions and diminish the powers of their foes. Bellara is unique in that she's an elven mage with a bow, so she will be your ranged control option. We do see that in her abilities, her first being Fade Bolts. It has a longer 48-second cooldown, but does high damage. It also applies Shocked on hit and detonates sundered targets, making her work well with Harding's Shred ability. Bellara uses electricity for her offense. In the same picture we see Enfeebling Shot and Replenish, so no doubt Enfeebling Shot applies Weakened, and Replenish is her heal. We'll actually see this heal with every mage companion. It's been talked about before, but she also has the ability to slow time with the aptly named Time Slow, but the devs have said it's a good way to group up and detonate enemies, so you can put two mages in your party both with this ability and keep them nice and grouped up. Bellara also has the ability to interact with ancient elven artifacts in the world, meaning that bringing her along may reward you with secret areas, shortcuts, or items. Every companion has one unique way to interact, but hers is the only one we know about. She's also the only companion in the Veil Jumpers faction. Taash is next, a Canary dragon hunter allied with the Lords of Fortune. Taash lives for adventure and doesn't mind taking risks. While her interests include sparkling treasures and hitting things with an axe, Taash is also deeply knowledgeable about many topics. Her abilities are Fire Breath, Dragon's Roar, Dragonfire Strike, Spitfire, and Fortune's Favor. Blunt and straightforward, Taash is a mighty warrior who wields dual axes and breathes out flames, igniting enemies with draconic fury. We don't know much about Taash as we've yet to see her in action. All we know is she dual wields axes, is a warrior, and also somehow breathes fire, so she very well may be your melee DPS / support warrior companion. She's a dragon hunter that uses fire, which seems a bit redundant. Also, Qunari are very against magic roaming free outside of chains, so I hope this is explained somehow. Just from the ability descriptions alone, we can tell she'll have all fire-based attacks and 2 support abilities in Dragon's Roar and Fortune's favor. Speaking of, she's the only companion in the Lords of Fortune faction. Lucanis is an expert assassin for whom the Antivan Crows are a family business. He is poised and pragmatic, but he'd rather not be the center of attention. His focus is usually on his work. Lucanis specializes in executing powerful mages and has earned himself the title Demon of Varantium. His abilities are Eviscerate, Abominate, Soothing Potion, Debilitate, and Adrenaline Rush. Lucanis stylishly deals necrotic damage in battle with his dual daggers, while supporting his companions with potions and buffs. This makes him your human melee DPS. He doesn't have an immediate ability to prime a status effect, but can detonate the Overwhelm effect. He can do this with Eviscerate, a very high damage ability on a 40-second cooldown. It deals even more the closer to death the target is. Now, Lucanis can only detonate one status effect and doesn't prime, so you'd expect he makes it up elsewhere. Well, he's a mage killer after all, so he's good at taking down barriers. Abominate hits in an AoE, deals decent damage and high barrier damage. Barriers are blue bars over enemies' health, which take less damage from melee and more damage from ranged. Usually seen on mages, but also on bosses like this Pride Demon. Abominate has a low 24-second cooldown and also knocks down targets. Adrenaline Rush is on a 19-second cooldown, so it could be up very often and grants you the enhanced damage effect, which we've seen can be boosted by items. He also has Soothing Potion, which we can assume is his heal and is an ability the non-mages share. Yes, both of these mirror what Scout Harding has. Debilitate doesn't apply a status effect, or we would have seen it in his description, so perhaps it does something else like a high stagger amount or slow, or detonate the Overwhelm effect again. There is something very obviously sus about him, in that he has a demonic aura and, well, straight up demon wings. It seems like each companion will have something special about them. Lucanis is part of the Antivan Crows. Emmrich is a necromancer of Navarra's Morn Watch. This well-meaning scholar comes complete with a skeletal assistant, Manfred. Emmrich is as serious about his duty to protect innocents from the occult as he is about his studies and his interest in the mysteries of the Fade. His abilities are Final Rites, Replenish, Entangling Spirits, The Bell Tolls, and Time Slow. Emmrich summons forth spirits of the dead to both entangle and hinder his enemies and heal his companions, which means he'll be your ranged human mage support. At a base, he applies Weakened and detonates Sundered. Also, he does come with a permanent skeleton minion that can distract enemies for you and, well, join you in the bedroom if you romance him.
Nani?
Nani?
Each to their own, I guess. Frankly though, I'm disappointed he doesn't have Walking Bomb, even though the ability icon tricked me and made it seem like he does. We haven't seen any of his skills in action yet. He also gets Time Slow and Replenish. Both of these Bellara and Neve have access to as well. No doubt though, he'll modify them in his own unique ways. So my assumption is Emmrich will be there to offset damage for you if you don't want to bring along a tank, as Weakened reduces enemies' damage and Manfred the skeleton can distract. Emmrich is part of the Morn Watch faction. Last but not least, Neve, the only female human in the party who sports a peg leg and dangerous ice magic. She's a cynic fighting for a better future. Neve is both a private detective and a member of Tevinter's rebellious Shadow Dragons. Born and raised in a working-class neighborhood of Minrathous, she does not believe in the superiority of mages. Her abilities are Icebreaker, Blizzard, Glacial Pace, Time Slow, and Replenish. Neve uses her talents as an ice mage to freeze and slow enemies, stopping them in their tracks. So far, we've seen Taash specialize in fire, Bellara in lightning, Lucanis in necrotic, and now Neve in ice, meaning she will be your ranged DPS and control companion. She also has Time Slow and Replenish like the other mages in your party. However, her other skills revolve around the use of ice. We don't see them specifically in use as we only see level 1 gameplay with her, but we do see her using her wand, which is ice-based, and using Frosty Wind to dodge backwards and jump in and so forth. Between freezing enemies and slowing them down in a time bubble, she does seem to have the most ways to control the battlefield, so like Lucanis, I bet she'll have less ways to combo with Rook and other teammates in order to compensate. Finally, she's part of the Shadow Dragons faction. And that's all we know about companions and their skills so far. What do you think? Do you know who you'll be bringing along on your adventures? Let me know below. Also, don't forget to enter the $250,000 competition. Thanks so much for watching, and for everything Dragon Age, you're in the right place. Ciao friends.